All right. It's in between. We haven't done one of these in a while. This is going to be refreshing. We don't have to do anything except this ain't about Planet of the Apes. This is about
Airplanes
us.
are flying over. Yay.
And Sean or Richard, one of the...
I'm putting cushions outside while we're doing this.
Oh, great. That means we're going to hear airplanes and your thing's going to cut out. But your thing's going to cut out is what she said.
I'll be done in a minute.
Richard was actually the one that said, let's make this into an in-between. And here's what it was. During the recording of one of the episodes, JJ, Sean's wife,
was cooking
began
talking potatoes.
Yes, and she and Richard share, really take care of themselves. They're fantastic at this. And when they said sweet potatoes, I made the comment, can't stand sweet potatoes. I've tried, and I got, dogged. Sean's telling me I'm a picky eater. The funny thing is, I am easily one of the least picky eaters in the world. However, there are about 2 or 3 things I'm like, shit, I don't like that. I've tried it, and I don't like it. Sweet potatoes being amongst those that I just cannot. I've tried every combination. I've tried everything. I don't like them. I don't like sweet things.
Sweet things at all, like chocolate and stuff, and ice cream?
On occasion, I'll eat ice cream, but what I usually tend to go for is more like sherbet, which has, the acidic nature of lime to it. And yes, it's sweet, but it has a tartness to it. Something about sweet stuff has always kind of made me gag a little bit.
All right. You're sweet enough as it is.
I'm sorry, what, Richard?
Do you like margaritas?
No, I do not. It's weird because I love lime. I don't think I like tequila a lot. I don't dislike it. I don't just like the taste enough to go, wow, I want a margarita. Okay, there've got to be foods that you guys don't care for. I'm not the only one. You can't tell me that everything that's put in front of you, each one of you go, I love that.
Oh, JJ will tell you I'm an extremely picky eater.
You are?
Richard is, yeah. It's like specific cheeses that he doesn't like. It's got to be, you can't be too soft, that kind of thing.
Okay, so cheeses. What cheeses do you like and what cheeses don't you like, and why?
I only like cheese on nachos, and I'll eat cheese on certain types of pizza. Oh, and I'll actually put cheese on sloppy joes.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I really like extra sharp cheddar cheese.
I do too.
And then I like little bits of like mild cheeses on like Mexican food. That's about it. But I don't like cheese sauces. I don't like cheese when it's mixed with like tomato sauce. I don't like any heavy cream. I'm not a huge dairy fan. I don't mind whey powder, but I mean it's just whey powder doesn't taste like dairy.
I don't do a lot of dairy either. If I put milk on my cereal, I do almond milk, and it's just because I've learned to like that taste more.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when you say cheese, my sister tricked me as a kid. She's like, you got to come to the fridge and do this. And we would always kind of trick each other, and I tricked her into trying Worcestershire sauce and like a big teaspoon of it. And she'd gag. Yeah. Oh, I was a bad brother. But then she said, you've got to have this cheese. It tastes just like butter. Well, I put it in my mouth. It was bitter and nasty. And I was like, Pugh. And so I kind of have that memory to cheese. So like you, I do now like very sharp cheddar, but there are other, especially the texture of some cheeses just make me want to vomit.
What cheese did she trick you with?
I don't recall, but as a kid, it was probably just a sharp cheddar at that time, but it cemented this idea that it should be creamy and almost, the buttery sweetness that you get with a good butter. And I put something in that was bitter, and so made a little memory pathway. I've learned to like it, but now it's textural stuff. Like when you see cheeses that cheese shit that you see that's kind of in a water or whatever.
The oil ones, the kind of cheese sauce they pour on like chips and shit like that, like baseball games. Yeah, not for me. Not for me at all.
Sean, is there anything for you?
Yeah, Sean.
Well, no. Well, see, so I have no sense of smell, and so when I was a kid, I had things that I didn't like. I didn't like onions. I didn't like peppers, and I didn't like meatloaf or sloppy joes.
Oh my god!
Now, as an adult, I don't have any problem with onions and peppers. Sloppy joes, I'll eat. Meatloaf, I'm not the biggest fan of, but besides that, you ask JJ, the weirder it is, the more I want to try it. I want the weird into sushi. I want all my meat cooked raw. Give me some liver. Give me some kidneys. Give me some fried chicken hearts.
fried chicken hearts.
Steak tartare. Oh, fried chicken hearts are the best, man.
Oh.
I used to have those as a kid. When my mom would make fried chicken, she'd have the livers and gizzards and all that stuff. And she'd take the chicken heart and put it in some batter and flour, and you throw it in there. And, it's this big. So it's not like you're eating a chunk of something. It's a bite of something.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, anything battered and fried is almost always going to be tasty, I suppose, right? There's a lot of seafood that I don't really care for, but I'll eat it if it's battered and fried. I'll eat this. It's fried and battered. This is great.
Well, at that point, just fry me up some batter and let's eat that.
It's kind of like sushi. Like I don't really think about the type of fish I'm eating. It's just a sticky thing of rice with a little bit of sauce on it. Like I'm not even.
It's a rice delivery system for you.
It's a rice and sauce delivery system. It's not really I can't tell the difference between tuna and I can tell the difference in salmon, but ours is like generic fish.
I know this won't speak to Sean, but, I think back, my grandmother was from the coastal area of Texas leading into Louisiana. I've got a lot of family that technically are of the Cajun background, and she would bring in foods simply from frying up liver, which the smell of a liver cooking, oh my God, it smells wonderful. And then when you put it in your mouth, you're like, but... Then,
you don't like that iron taste?
I don't think I've ever had it. I honestly don't think I've ever had liver and stuff.
Well, what my grandmother would do so coming from the reason I brought up that whole Cajun background, she was not Cajun, but again, she had a lot of people married into the family that were in that kind of cooking. Rice from that area is a big thing you serve, and she would make rice with liver in it, which is nothing more than dirty rice. And that I can't eat a piece of liver alone, but you put it in with some rice. Oh my God, I will go to town. Something about those two flavors together. Whoa, love that. But the smell of liver cooking.
Did you say that's gross, Richard?
I said interesting. I didn't say gross.
I remember when I was in college, and I've never been able to find it again, and I do look every now and then. Walmart was a big part of the town where I went to college. And so there was like one of the first Walmart supercenters were there. And so we would go there, at college in the middle of the night because, you're up and you want to go get something to eat or something like that. And they had pickled pig's brain in a little can.
Brain?
All right, let's see what pickled pig's brain. It looked, and so let's see what this is. I bought it, took it back home, cracked it open. It looked like little Vienna sausages in liquid, like what they would have put it in. And you took a bite, and it tasted just like little Vienna sausages. Like, all right, that's what pickled pig brain tastes like. Okay.
So does it have a heavily pickled flavor to it?
No, it didn't taste like a pickle. It just was. It wasn't salty or vinegary like that. It tasted like meat. Like I said, it tasted like a Vienna sausage to me.
So there's a
without the casing on it.
For some reason, that brings to mind, you guys living in the Dallas area know Campese's, the Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
A staple of the Dallas area. If you've lived here for very long, you've probably eaten there. Famously, is the restaurant where Jack Ruby went to eat the night before he killed Lee Oswald.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going there since I was a little boy. My uncle took me there. Then I took Shelly. We take Abby. It's just, and we don't go to the satellite ones. We try to go to the one on Mockingbird as often as possible.
Yeah.
And you talk to these people. They're so great. And one day we're talking to one of the sons who now is the owners of it. And he was joking. We're like, your marinara is just, it's got this lovely flavor. He said, well, I'll tell you honestly what it is we use pig's feet. And I was like, pig's feet? He's like, yeah, we simmer it within it so that puts that flavor into it. You saying pickles, pig's brain. I was like, I'd never known that people put pig's feet in marinara, and now I'd never known there were pickled pig's brains.
Yeah.
Yuck.
You use all of it.
Pretty much, unless it's physically inedible, and let's be quite honest, humans have found ways to make things that are edible, inedible, and then edible again. Century eggs where they bury them, or fish that they, have rot underground for weeks and weeks and then eat it again. Let's go back to the first human that saw a bird or some other animal eating an oyster and then said, oh, I'm going to try that, and didn't die and said, oh, this is good, I want to have more of it. Cut to we're burying fish underground with shit so that we can let it rot and then eat it later, or we're hanging meat outside for months so it can get gamey and maybe just a little bit moldy so it can get tender, and then we'll eat it later. I mean, I've got a friend weird things.
I got a friend that works for one of the big chains around here, and they have a famous steakhouse, and they dry age their steaks there. And he took me back to the dry aging room. And and he's such an interesting dude. He knows all this, like, truly degrees on understanding what happens with food. And he's like, essentially, you're rotting this piece of meat.
You're rotting it out a little bit, yeah.
And then we're going to cut that away. And the funny thing is, when you eat it, it does taste entirely different. It's amazing.
There's a difference in it. The chemical process that happens to let it break down the right amount. But again, who's the first person that went, all right, I'm going to let this rot for a little bit and let this rot for a little bit longer, and I'll try this, but this one might kill me, but this one didn't.
Well, I bet a lot of that had to do with the fact that we didn't have refrigeration. And so they're trying to find ways of experimenting with prolonging food through winters, through
That's a good point.
seasons, rather than cutting it fresh and cooking
Which is why spices and stuff used to be so valuable and expensive. Salt could preserve meat for times when it wasn't cold and you couldn't keep it outside when it's hot.
Wasn't that one of the reasons why we fermented beers and beverages and so on, so it could actually have drinkable water and things?
You would have alcohol on the ship because it's not going to turn bad on you.
Yeah, you couldn't desalinate the water.
Yeah,
you know?
I want to jump to that. We talk about letting things age.
I'm right here.
Okay, Richard, we wouldn't talk that ugly about you. But speaking that Richard and I are not the biggest fans of cheeses, my wife is a huge cheese head for the Packers. She loves them, and we would go to parties and whatnot. And these people from Wisconsin that we actually knew in this area, some of them actually brought aged cheddar from up that way. Have you ever had aged cheddar?
I don't believe I have.
So I don't know I don't know all the process they go into aging it, but they would say this is 5 year, this is 10 year, this is 25. And what happens?
And then the older ones, they go, okay, boomer, and then okay, boomer, and that makes them really age.
So what happens is it actually forms crystals inside of it. It gets infinitely more on the bitter end of things, but when you then bite into it, suddenly it crackles. Oh my God. That may have been one of the worst days of my life, putting some of that shit in my mouth. And
what? It crackles? What do you mean?
Yeah, there are some. You'd have to look this up.
Crystals break up in your mouth.
Yeah, you put them in there and it starts crunching almost. And they're all like, that's what makes it great. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst shit I've ever tasted in my life. Because again, I'm not that big of a fan of cheese.
I have not eaten it before. I've only read about it, but I can tell you about a cheese that would be worse for you.
What's that?
There's a cheese that they make that has maggots in it as part of the process. And when you eat it, you're supposed to eat it with the maggots still in it, but you're supposed to cover the cheese because they jump out of the cheese. So you're covering it while you're eating it, so that you're not eating the maggots and they don't jump into your face. But the maggots are part of the cheese as you're eating it.
What? No.
Yeah,
Ew.
No. Hang on. I'm going to look this up.
No, ma'am. Mm-mm.
Maggot cheese. There we go. Maggot cheese. It's called CASU, Casu, MARZU, Marzu. Casu Marzu.
No.
It's Sardinian.
What?
It contains live insects. And so consumption. It's unsafe to eat because the maggots. It might be unsafe to eat if the maggots have died. I mean, the maggots are usually alive when it's eaten, although the cheese might be refrigerated. I mean, that's when the maggots can kill. Who's the guy that said, all right, I want to make cheese, which is fine by me. I love cheese. I know you might have some problems with cheese, but then sees maggots going through it and goes, I'm going to eat that. And then goes, not only am I going to eat that, I'm going to make sure maggots are always in that cheese so other people can eat it too. But yeah, the larvae can launch themselves distances up to 15 centimeters when disturbed, 6 inches. So that's why you have to cover the cheese while you're eating it. Okay. You have to hold your hand above the sandwich to prevent the maggots from leaving. Okay, look, I'm not talking about cheese. I think that conversation is done. All right?
Yeah, that's disgusting. You got to stop that. I'm done with that. There are a lot of things I can take, but that is, I was watching...
Cheese Maggots is the name of my new band.
I was watching something on Netflix recently, one of the infinite cooking shows, and it was just to kind of break up. You know, I've watched tons of other things. I need